We are live. I'm assuming the live clock is going 13 seconds. Shout out to one in the house. Music holds a secret. Popcorn lung, it ain't no fun. Well, I'm not aiming to find out, partner. And I got halfway to downtown in my little car and realized that I brought everything I needed except for the small wire that goes from the fancy portable mixer to the phone. And I don't even like calling these things phones, nor am I a phone person, by the way, which is why if y'all text me anytime past about 5 p.m., those of you who may have my number, I'm probably asleep. And when I'm asleep, I'm in airplane mode, Jack. So if y'all want to send me a text message in the afternoon or the early evening, just be aware I ain't going to be reading it till probably about 1 a.m. when I wake up. And I turn the phone on. And after a few minutes, the text message downloads to the phone. So email. I am a little annoyed. Let's just ramble and vlog. Old man yells at cloud style. I'm a little annoyed that text messaging has replaced email in a lot of senses in many regards. So some of these communications, I would assert, would be better served or better suited for email. And then, the person, if they choose to go to sleep with their phone making noises and then I send them an email, now I have no guilt. But I'm not texting people when I wake up at 1:45 a.m. because I might be waking them up. But I will send an email at 1:45 a.m. See how it works? What's up, Yellow Cake Maker? Boy, they're already hooping and hollering the one night spot. Oh, and fourth meal. They talk about getting back to normal, and I don't know if that's ever going to happen, whatever that means. But, on the heels of this fake pandemic, and then, it potentially going back into some version of that, apparently, and more or less just people openly talking about lockdowns or returning. Oh, and shout out to Pythag Bex, Pythagosaurus Bex, who's the channel's been rebranded, and she is live right now at, I think it's the Bex Factor. Yeah, even a channel, even a username change at the Bex Factor, I believe, BEXX. But Pythagosaurus Bex will still get you there. Although that may require that one is already subscribed. But of course, we capping. So, this weird, strange style to me of not, of taking down all the material, shortly after it's put out there. Yeah, it's people like Provo Kid. He seems to utilize that effectively in some regard. Although I would assert, this is just my opinion, that overall it would be better to leave the majority of the content on the channel. Well, that's the thing is you can't find it's and again, people don't understand the internet, right? Many folks don't really know what the internet is. So part of that is we've been told this lie that, well, the internet never forgets. Well, I'm sure that's true, like in a sense, but we've been indoctrinated with this idea that, well, once it's on the public internet, it can't disappear. That's bullshit. I'll get up to all sorts of shenanigans on the Joe Rogan Experience message board. As far as I can tell, none of that exists. Now, I can promise you there's certain pictures and certain screenshots that are still on people's hard drives somewhere. But as far as the internet is concerned, as far as you being able to type something into a search engine and finding any piece of material from that time, no, I've tried. It's not there. It's just simply not there. So, I would encourage anybody, if you're especially if one is on their computer, but even on a phone, screenshot. I screenshot everything. Just if it looks like I might need that shit later, screenshot. Now we do get into this really is a thing where the brain knows that you've taken a picture of it, and it actually will tend not to remember. I don't know if y'all have seen those studies, if that's true, right? But for me, I want to have that. I want to have that on my Now I know I at least have a screenshot, and I can go back through the 600 or however many screenshots I've done since I reinstalled Linux. Right. What's up, Razvan? Good to see you, sir. Archive.org. That's true, but there's no Joe Rogan. You can't go read the Joe Rogan message board from 2009 or whenever that was. It's not readable. So yeah, you can go to archive.org all you want, tribe, but Benton's adventures, misadventures, and shenanigans on the Joe Rogan Experience message board, a top 10 all-time thread on a very active message board. Over damn near 8 million views last I checked, by the way, before I was unceremoniously banned after being pinked. Now only folks who were actually on the board will probably know what that means, to be pinked. Meanwhile, they maxed out my rep points on there. Not that I'm proud of that or anything, but you know, we can talk about masculinity and all of these, you know, male hierarchies and all of this stuff. Well, that's a very much you know, overly masculinized, testosteronized environment, and Benton shot right to the top of it. But then they kicked my ass out. So what's that say? Like yeah, I may damn near take over the tribe, but then at a certain point, will the tribe kick me out, right? Like I find that funny on some level. Oh yeah, we're drunk, making incomprehensible noises. Those people in that car, and then just the stopping for lights downtown. You know, right before I parked my car, I started to pull over, and then the sign said, it looked like a parking spot. The sign says bus stop. It's like, okay, why are there car parking street markings at a bus stop? But whatever. Overlooking that, you know, so then there's a red light. So I just look both ways and go through the light. There's no cars around. But then a few minutes later, while I'm trying to unravel the tangled earbuds, right? Thank God for these earbuds. But while I'm doing that, here comes a cop. And he just sits there for like 2.5 minutes through the light. You know, and if they pull me over, I'm just going to tell them that. I say, look, I got a CDL. I know how to fucking drive. It's clearly safe for me to proceed through this stoplight. If you got to write me a ticket, go for it. But we're going to miss me with the part where I'm expected to feel like I've done something wrong, because I didn't, because I got judgment and I got discernment. And if we can license me to operate a motherfucking 18-wheeler, I'm pretty sure I'm capable of determining if it's safe to proceed after stopping through this stoplight, partner. Meanwhile, if the power goes out, what's going to happen? It's all fucking four-way stops now. So I'm really just turned it into what it would be if the power was off. So what the hell is we even talking about, partner? That's a little too much logic to drop on them in one go. In one go, that's a little too much logic for them. Can't hit them. You can't hit them that hard with the logical body blows, partner. They can't deal with it. They ain't got the turtle shell defense for that. How? I'm on one today, Jack. And see, I'm learning more and more, man. I go to sleep early. I wake up early. I'm feeling good for the most part, even though I'm still ill, right? I feel not as bad as yesterday. Got my strut, got my mojo. But dude, I'll be, you know, I probably won't even be able to go to the library later, because I'm just trying to wait around for that thing to open at 9. It's too fucking late, man. So we'll be back dealing with the bullshit internet, right? At the hovel, dealing with the bullshit internet. How about you? See, that's a West Texas bullshit. See, I don't talk a lot of this stuff I say. I don't talk that way. It's things I've heard and picked up. I had a homeless friend from Lubbock, and I'm so used to being out at cities, man. Part of me expected this seating area to be full, right? There would have been a time. It's Friday. Of course, it'd still be Thursday night for anybody hanging out on the patio. But yeah, fourth meal. That's what I was trying to talk about. Goddamn, 10 of them in line for fourth meal. Whenever that was, 2:15 when I drove past the Taco Bell coming here. So things are. So if what Yurt's talking about with this, you know, going back and down the lockdowns, and it's time to sit everybody down again. And he's not the only one saying that, but he's the one I've been listening to who talks about it the most. You know, now, not that I was coming downtown, but now we see this is an actual business open 24 hours, you know. Well, I'm sure there was some of that in the last several years, but it's, especially in Arkansas, it's been slim to none on the 24-hour, businesses. And apparently that other gas station, the one I used to work at, is open 24. They didn't even used to be open 24 hours. Of course, it's under new management apparently, or different management than it was then, right? Yep. Oh yeah, and again, it's just that was just I like to walk around and look at shit. I'm a simple fella, right? It doesn't take much. And then this is where we get into the dating with the fellas. It's like, when I first started learning about whatever that we call that material, a lot of it just gets lumped in with MGTOW, which did not even exist yet, by the way, back in the olden days, around 2010, 2011. Now I'm sure it did, but it had not quite entered the fucking zeitgeist or the lexicon yet, MGTOW. But what do we do on the dates, right? So what I was learning about, and what I was eventually helping other people with, was like, okay, the man is the one who, the way the system is set up, right? We're typically, although this has changed to some extent, even since just in those few years. So I know when I talk about this material, it's already dated material, right? So I'm fully aware of that. But back then, right, I'm the one who's inviting these broads on dates. So I was good at getting a lot of phone numbers. So I had a list of phone numbers, and then I decide, what do I want to go do, right? What does Benton want to go do? Well, number one, we want to do things that don't cost money, because I'm trying to avoid the entire who pays for what. Meanwhile, no, I'm not paying for anything. I'm paying for nothing, right? I paid zero. I did not spend one dime on ex-wife number two. We'd been dating 6 months before I spent the first dime on her. Yeah. I don't believe in that. So yeah, free dates. Well, go downtown and fucking walk around, right? Go downtown, walk around. It's not that complicated. But I like to do that. The key is it needs to be something I like to do, because if I choose to reward a person with unrestricted, or should I say exclusive, access to my time and attention in a romantic sense, that probably needs to be somebody who likes to do the same type of shit I like to do. Don't you think? But anytime a man talks this way, it gets construed as, I'm doing something to her. I'm oppressing her. It's like, no, I'm trying to make sure that I don't end up potentially for years at a time. And I like to go new places and see new things and walk around, and she don't, right? Not that doesn't make her a bad person. I'm just saying, like, there's certain things we need to go out, be able to go do, right? Of course, this was years ago. The world is very, very different now. Now everything is in the context of the fake pandemic to some extent. It all comes down to that context. I'm gonna dip off through here. Feel like I'm up on stage with these bozos just sitting there, and I know they're watching their phone or they're watching me. There's really only two other things that can happen. I mean, that's really the only things that could happen. I mean, feel like I'm up on stage. But yeah, that was cool the last couple of nights with the moon, which is apparently no longer full. And oh, that reminds me of something. The moon, and this is part of my frustration with RT yesterday. And some of that is the illness. And more and more, I'm just going to be having to refer to that. I mean, me expecting my mood to be just pleasant and fucking cheerful and feeling good all day. That's just not realistic. But so he wants to talk about the blue moon, which is fine, and this is where my autism kicks in. So I hear so many people talking about so many different things on these panels and in these formats. But oh shit, just stepped off a curb that I did not see. That would have been boy, there was a time when that would have fucked my back all up. I used to have sciatica. Thankfully I don't anymore. Unexpectedly stepping off a ledge is not good for any of those. So bear with me while I sort of monitor the situation. I think I'm all right though. Tell you a trick I learned along the way. If you ever tweak your lower back, I used to have a lot of issues with my lower back. If you can, if the person if they, you know what that feels like, and you know that it's like, oh shit, I tweaked it. If I lay on my back and pull my knees up, like where my kneecaps facing skyward, and just sort of lay there, at least for a couple of minutes, man, that can make all the fucking difference in the world. I did that in the middle of a moving job one time, in Boulder. Now that I think about it, Boulder, Colorado. The guy was like, "Are you gonna keep work? Like, are you gonna?" He thought I was quitting. I was like, "No, man, I tweaked my back. I just need to lay here for 60 more seconds, and I'll be fine. Finish the job." Something about that. I don't know exactly what it is, but yeah. So the blue moon, I hear all this discussion of it, and this actually ties into what I was sort of a point I was trying to make with RT yesterday, but I probably did not make the point fully. Was, I see all these smart people just skipping basic things and going into headlong into sophistication, especially on a broadcast with an audience. So, I don't have perfect information. And yeah, I'm sure at one time I understood that a blue moon was the second full moon in a calendar month. So, but I haven't heard one person just say that. Now I've seen it typed into the live chat, right? So why not, when they bring up blue moon, why not just say, and of course a blue moon is the second full moon in a calendar month. So now we all know what the hell we're talking about. And then, yeah, I get the cultural context and, once in a blue moon and all that. Yeah, I understand all of that, but that's even beyond the actual, what is a blue moon, a so-called blue moon, right? Can't stay away from the beach for too long. Number two, really love the ocean. I'm not a fan, like, as far as like, oh my God, I'm not going to be like, oh, I haven't been to the ocean in a year and a half and I'm overdue. But when I'm there, I definitely enjoy it, I must say. It doesn't have to be hot in summertime either. And in fact, my favorite natural beauty in the whole country, in the United States anyway, is not everybody's here in the States, but mine is, that step off that ledge did not do me any favors. Now my fucking whole left foot's, now my whole fucking left leg's going numb. Gotta love that. Oh well, such is life. And then this fanny pack ain't helping. A certain amount of weight in a kind of an unnatural position, right? Oh well. Yeah, I do enjoy the beach. Indeed. Yeah, the Oregon coast, rather. That was my favorite natural beauty spot. And yeah, y'all feel free to go check out Pythagoras Bex, or Pythag Bex, or just Bex, whatever we're calling it. Feel free to go check her out. I won't be mad at you. Hell, half the stuff I've been doing lately is just mainly just I don't even know how to characterize this, but certainly the THCO, I've realized that it's on the verge of just more or less ruining the entire channel, right? In a way. Oh, did I leave? No. Of course. Well, yeah, we'll forget fucking cables that are essential, but oh, he's not leaving home without he's not leaving the clubhouse without the cannabinoids, is he? The synthetic cannabinoids. Yeah. What, is everybody homeless now? What's going on here? What are you doing to my uniqueness? Oh man. Oh. And then I see the communication breakdowns even amongst the truthers, and I'm part of that also. Certain people are emailing me, I'm emailing certain people, and maybe I'm dropping the ball on responding in a timely fashion, or the other person, and then signals are getting crossed, and maybe there's something that needs to be communicated deep down, and we're not quite getting to it, and there's a lot. So it's not, I don't blame other people for this. I'm certainly to blame as well in some way. It's interesting. I know I'm being vague. The reality is reality of the situation. Oh, wasn't homeless. Oh, there you go. Yeah, man. There is something to be said for sleeping outside. I will say I sleep better with something over the top of me. So that's where I got to where I would, need it or not, I would almost always pitch my tarp, even if I was not using any sort of tent as far as, the mesh, keep the bugs off of me, right? Even if there was no reason to have the tarp, as far as, no chance of rain, I found I sleep better with something. If anybody's ever woke up to somebody standing over them, that can be a tad unnerving as well. Yeah, the tarp would lessen the chances of that, certainly. First hit of the new day. Ooh. But yeah, see, I don't even really like, I get high now, but my tolerance is destroyed to the point where, I just end up in a stupor is what happens by like early afternoon. I'm just more or less in a fucking stupor, just sitting there in front of my computer, realizing that I have zero. Now it's very nearly at 0% productivity, right? What am I going to be able to bring out of this? Probably nothing. Which again, this is obliteration, right? What's up, Divine Spirit 313? Good to see you. Good to see you, Miss, Mrs., Ma'am, whatever. Human. Oh, fuck. Crazy drunk guy in the middle of the street down here. There you go. Oh, yeah, I've always been so you might actually be a street person, Yellow Cake Maker. I did not know that I was a street, and I'm not putting this on you. I'm just saying, like, at a certain point, I realized, oh, I'm a street person. I've always been a street person. This is just normal for me, some of my behaviors and activities. So, again, not putting that on you. I'm just saying this may be something that was within you your entire life, and you just didn't really, or you assumed that you weren't that way. But, go to a city. There is such a thing as street people. That doesn't, they can grow up in all kind of different environments and in all kind of different ways. And I've talked about this before, but like we used to go, me and my family would go to like Memphis, which is similar to my hometown in a way as far as high crime and culturally. However, it's the big version, the big scary, dangerous version of that, right? It's like my hometown, but everything's expanded and more serious, more crime. It's more of everything, just more and more and more. And we would finally be done for the fucking day. Whatever we're doing, at the Kingdom Hall or whatever. Yeah, we'd finally be done for the day, and we'd finally be done for the day. I'm trying to avoid these humans who might try to talk to me while I finish that portion of my discourse. But it'd be pitch fucking black. Nighttime. It'd have to be 8 p.m. I'd finally done for the day. I'd grab my skateboard, look at my parents, and be like, "All right, I'll see y'all later." And I would just go skateboarding around the fucking wherever that area was around the hotel. Probably the La Quinta. For some reason, my dad liked La Quinta Inns, but yeah, probably somewhere. I'm talking like the gas station with the fucking bulletproof glass. It's the hood, man. People got their, some of them got the bars on the windows of their houses, and here's old white boy Benton, only white boy in sight, out there bebopping around on a skateboard, never had a problem. Nobody ever fucked with me. Right? Last time I was in Memphis, last time I was in Memphis and not in a car anyway, rode the city bus. Only pale face on there. They didn't say nothing to me, but hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm good, man. Have a good day. Street person. Fucking fit in somehow. I don't know what that is. I know most of the people I grew up with are not street people. I know that. Why me on some level? Yeah, as the weekend settles in, see, there's already, now I may be here just a little bit earlier than recently, but zombie apocalypse, sir. How's your zombie apocalypse going? Mine's going pretty well, thank you. See, this is the guy who can't listen but has to talk. You're not interesting, sir. Have a nice day. I'm the one who's interesting on command. That's why there's people watching me on YouTube right now. But have a good day, sir. See, when they say things and it's not interesting, it's like, why would I listen to that person? You're boring. You're a bore. Schizophrenic, most likely. Some of them are interesting, by the way. Some of the schizophrenics are interesting. But then shout out to Layla. Yeah, they're not, I don't know what they're doing here, but it's such a bizarre environment, and just like the feeling around that night spot, like the fucking demons, if we want to call it that. Like I'm repelled, man. Like I have to just get away from that area. Like I could almost feel like I'm being enclosed in a way. Just looking at the people's body language, the few people around, it's like, no, I just got to flee this, man. And that's part of the sage, right? The sage, man. The sage probably ain't around when the shit goes down, because somehow the sage gets the download, or gets the push notification to and then just leaves the area, right? I remember in Little Rock, downtown Little Rock, actually technically North Little Rock, I would cross the river, and then I would sleep near the river. But that was completely under the stars, no tarp even. But in the summer, and hell, somebody got murdered down there one night. I didn't hear nothing. I didn't hear no sirens. I didn't, I guess I slept through it. And, based on where the news story said this shit happened, I mean, I was definitely there asleep while, in the general vicinity where this murder happened. But, I wasn't affected. Wouldn't have even known about it if I had not seen the news story, right? Same thing with whatever's going on at that night spot. Maybe 5 minutes from now, the shit pops off and I ain't there. So, and this is some of where I get with Christos yesterday, and I will give him, I'll give him some leeway based on his, I don't even know how to term that, but whatever that is. But there's some fake it till you make it. Like I can hear him verbalizing to me, like, and RT to a certain extent, but I can hear him verbalizing, I can hear him. See, they never saw me. They're looking at their phone. Never saw me. You got to keep your head on the swivel when you're out here. Because remember, it's not their job not to hit me. It's my job to make sure they don't hit me. And I have no advantage to walking in front of your car, but there's a potential downside. So people have this like shame response where they don't want to stop for pedestrians. But then if I'm like too close to the corner, now they want to let me go, but it's for their own self-image. So they don't want that shame of feeling like they didn't stop. Yes, it's a loud male voice. I know we don't hear those anymore, but we ain't all giving up our dick and balls. Some of us said, no, I'm going to leave my testicles right there swinging between my legs. But yeah, the women, man, you don't hear a loud, strong, manly voice anymore, especially out in public, especially at 3 a.m. So they almost don't know what that is anymore. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Is that a man with a sack of nuts? Damn, we thought you was extinct, partner. It's like it's such a rare thing now, it may as well not exist. So I understand why they stupefied some of the time when they lay their eyes on old Benton here. Woo! On fire, Jack. Grab the coffee and the tea. That's right. Well, I'm going to have to bring it back down because definitely can't maintain that level of energy. Can't maintain that level of energy. But it's definitely something I noticed with being in public with the strong male voice, and and that is a thing. See, when they talk about he's always the loudest one in the room or whatever, and then people want to we get into Paul enslaved and this and that. And I've been saying since day one, look, I'm at a disadvantage in the metaverse, but when I'm in a group of people in public, number one, I'm almost always the loudest. And not by choice, right? I got a set of pipes on me. But, I know how to work a room. I know how to, jockey for position if I need to do that. Just think of Donald Trump that one famous time when, he walked into the room or whatever, and they didn't make proper space for him. So he just physically pushed his fucking way through. Like, that's Benton. I've always been that way. Like, I'm here, Jack. Y'all gonna have to make way, because I got to make way for y'all. Y'all gonna have to make way for me, partner. And if you don't like it, sorry about your luck. Sorry, not sorry. That's right, baby. And I hate to even talk that way, but I don't hate to talk that way. I understand the implications of talking that way. Meanwhile, they're the ones sitting outside a hotel at 3 a.m. You're gonna see a bizarre presentment. If one is gonna see a bizarre presentment, it's probably gonna be at 3 a.m. near a downtown. Increased likelihood, perhaps. I don't know. I can't call it. I know I was on a pretty good rant, and then I was starting to take off, and then them ladies broke their fucking necks looking at me. And again, take a look, then look away. That's politeness. And I'm not here to tell people what to do, but the staring is a bad look, y'all. And I know y'all ain't doing that, but these people have just given themselves over to staring. And this did not, I'm telling you, I've been bizarre. I've had a bizarre presentment my entire life. The people have changed. This is a new thing. People are I have to think they just don't realize that I can see how dumb you look when you just stare at me mouth agape. And I did not used to have people staring at me mouth agape that often. It had to be a special occasion. Now it's more or less every day. But then I'm in the laundromat yesterday, and the women, boy, they got no trouble raising their voices at each other across the room, just having to, I'll see you next week, or the lady, filling it, the lady replenishing the vending machine. Oh, but Benton opens his mouth, and now it's half the time it's the women want to try to misconstrue it as like it's some kind of toxic masculinity. But that's the fact is, man, the masses, we just ridicule all these things that get pushed out, we meaning the so-called truthers. Meanwhile, 18 months later, just the average fucking lady at a laundromat just more or less believes the official fucking script of toxic masculinity. Just commoners, peasants. So, I mean, this is a real thing, man. It's a real thing. I wish I could remember what I was ranting about, something about Memphis and street people, and that was earlier on, though. Looks like an interesting backdrop. Yeah, I had fun. For a couple hours, I baked Alaska, sat there in front of my computer, and just took screenshots from yesterday's walk and talk. So I did like 50 screenshots that are ready to be made into thumbnails. If anybody saw the original thumbnail for this live stream yesterday, it was actually kind of scary looking. And I took some pictures, some selfies outside that old church, and I didn't realize, but it looks like some sigil. I didn't realize like when I was there, but looking at those pictures or those screenshots, it looks like they got some sigil magic going on the outside of that church, man. Maybe I'll show that on the later broadcast, but just looking at the shapes of some of those windows and stuff, I'm like, this is looking like some sigil magic. Shout out to Damien Eccles, not really. Child murderer Damien Eccles, and one time I would have fought you tooth and nail and said, no, that man was wrongfully convicted. But well, maybe he was, but he certainly was responsible for that, the West Memphis 3 case, so-called. Yeah, in the South, I'm used to people being loud. When I was a kid, man, again, the phones have changed society so much. I don't think we really realize it, but Southerners tend to be loud, and black folks tend to be loud. And where I'm from, the white folks are different than the blacks, but not that much different in some ways. It's just I grew up and was socialized in a time when if I was in public, it was loud as fuck. Motherfuckers were loud talking everywhere. And I went into a Walmart somewhere in Mississippi. Can't remember exactly where I was, but there was like 3 black ladies that worked there, and they were just hooping and hollering and loud as could be, loud talking. And I said, thank you. I said, that reminded me of when I was growing up. I said, you hardly ever hear anybody. uh, whatever they're doing. I can't remember. Who knows? The glib charm, obviously. Get in there and hit them with the glib charm. How much of that? Hey, how much is that wearing off? By the way, by now, the glib charm. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. Some folks it's already wore off and they ain't around. Or some of that's just life happens. I can't expect to keep everybody here. Hey, if 20 will listen to me at 3 a.m., I'm feeling pretty good about that. What's up, Mr. Pie? What's happening, partner? I'm glad we got some ladies in the house, too, by the way. Help, well, I should say these ladies. Some ladies would make it worse, but this channel does verge on becoming the gay hookup at a certain point. So trying to keep it away from that, as well as trying to keep it away from becoming the Debate Jesus channel. And when I say no sacred cows, that includes Jesus. I don't know if y'all know that. People can make fun of Jesus all they want. That shit don't bother me. But, I feel the same way about the Muslims and their prophet, right? Holla! Yellow cake maker. Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it took over the room. That's right. Yeah, that's that masculine spirit. It doesn't mean that that's what's appropriate or called for in all situations, but the thing is, when that no longer exists, that's a bad sign. That's all I'm saying. If there ain't a Benton or two around somewhere, and there's not a few versions of what Divine Spirit's talking about, if once that's gone, how is it ever going to come back? That's what I would say. Not that, yeah, it is annoying. Hell, I'm annoyed at times, but so what? And just people, the general public, even allowing themselves to get set up on the basis of annoying. If I lived my life based on what annoyed me, I would be one of those autistic people who never developed socially. My whole day, my whole life, to some extent, is just a never-ending series of irritations and annoyances. I just thought that's what life was. Right? Am I wrong? I mean, seems to me, as far as my experience, isn't that just what life is on some level? But then I'm seeing the populace just more and more, anything that they immediately interpret as annoying or irritating, it's just like, get away from it. That's not a good strategy for life, in my view. Overall, to run that as script, run from everything annoying and irritating. How is John Waters going to have a film career if every single human being flees the irritating and annoying and uncomfortable and disorienting, right? And I'm certainly no proponent of his films, not even a fan, actually, but I can appreciate an artist as an artist without really being that much a fan of their actual work. And we know he's a predator. Again, anytime I mention a person, we have to go, if it's, a famous person, I mentioned somebody from the fucking lexicon, the zeitgeist. Now we have the cultural zeitgeist, the pop culture. And now I have to make sure everybody knows that I know that he's a predator. Yeah, but that applies to this bozo singing this song, this Anthony Oliver or whatever. Well, if he gets pumped up to a certain level, he's also a predator. See, it works across the motherfucking board. We don't get to pick and choose because John Waters is light in his loafers and he's, prickly or whatever, and prickly and pretentious. So, we don't like the tone of Bill Maher's voice. So we got to make sure everybody knows he's a predator. Yeah, that's fine. But if this Anthony Oliver, if he gets too big in his career, guess what? He's a predator. It's just how that works. It's built in, man. It's built in. So I'm willing to play by the game based on them rules, but we're not going to pick and choose when the rules are in effect. That's why I get so upset sometimes when I just think I can play a Bill Maher clip and freaking dude. There's people left the channel and never came back over that Bill Maher thing. I don't know if y'all know that. There was like people who were definitely boosting the channel's engagement numbers when I go into my YouTube studio. There were absolutely those folks who left that day, probably never to return, because but that's me being real. People say, we like your authenticity, Benton. But yeah, but here's the problem is I'm not able to pick and choose when that's a thing and when it's not a thing. It's like, okay, most of the audience hates the sound of Bill Maher's voice, and now they're talking about how he's a predator down in the chat. So now I get to go off on everybody and be like, yeah, of course he is, but guess what? So are all of them. So like, what are we even talking about? I'm trying to reference. Can I not play a 5-minute clip of Bill Maher? Apparently not. Apparently not. So I get it. I understand. But if that's how it is, man, this is not the place for them. If a 5-minute Bill Maher clip is a deal breaker, this is not the place. So yeah, they're welcome to be here until they figure out that they're in the wrong place. Sure, I'm fine with that. They're welcome to stop by and say hi every once in a while. I don't care. But this is clearly not the place for them. If one cannot go do something else for a 5-minute Bill Maher clip, right? See what I'm saying? Or maybe just be like, okay, well, we'll check back with Benton tomorrow. But do I really need to get pieced up in the chat? And do I not exhibit enough intelligence over time to where can the people not just, and it's a lack of trust ultimately. It's that they don't trust me. Some of these folks don't trust me to just already understand when I play a Bill Maher clip how that may be received. Forgive me for expecting some level of maturity and intelligence on behalf of the audience to just be able to deal with it. I didn't realize those were children, right? The ones that left never to return potentially. I didn't know why those were grown adult babies. See? Well, I can't do nothing with grown adult babies. If the channel will never, ever, ever be operated in a manner that will be pleasing or more pleasing or less displeasing to grown adult babies. And there's a lot of them out here. And it's not my job to help them with their maturation process. That is not my function, y'all. What does that say back there? I don't know. What's up, Rachel? Good to see you. Got you on the thumbnail, the third thumbnail, but the current thumbnail, I believe. Oh, those are lights. That's what those are. Lights. That's a thumbnail. If I can find it later, that's the problem. It's hard to find. Well, I think it's time to urinate. So I might actually be on the Fed though. See, that's the thing is, gotta know where I am. I might be on the Fed. I think I'm on the edge of the Fed. I bet this train track is the boundary. Yeah, not that y'all can see any of that, but I'm on the screen. You can't see me. One moment, please. Freaking pants are falling down. They do not make the. I'm particular about my items, especially my clothing. And these are my pants, man. I found my pants, the Wrangler Riggs workwear pants. Just make sure, as long as I maintain vigilance around not using the outside pockets that are, don't have the flaps over the top of them. But no waist size smaller than 30, as far as I can tell. Now, some of those Carhartts and Dickies are available in 28, which that was my pant size when I graduated high school, by the way. And yeah, 28. So we're stuck with the 30s and constant belt tightening. Constant belt tightening. Ha ha ha, yeah. There you go. Indeed, Rathman, indeed. And then, I think about, because I hear all this stuff about masculinity, and, it's become a thing. I guess a lot of content creators are making their living, provide, so whatever this discussion or videos styled around, it's basically that Way of the Superior Man book. I mean, ultimately is what we're talking about. That's a lot of these videos that I see are in that style of the way that book is presented. I've read that book, of course. Of course I have, right? Back when I literally read every bit of printed material available in the, in that realm or genre of dating and relationships, and from the male perspective, which obviously will necessarily discuss masculinity. But then some of the older ladies, I remember this homeless lady from in Eugene. The city was, I guess somebody gave her an old travel trailer. Of course, she had no vehicle to pull it with, but so somebody brought it, basically a travel trailer in the parking lot of a public park, Alton Baker Park. Shout out to I Am the Dow, by the way, who I believe lives in that area. Hope I'm not doxing anybody, but that was my understanding. We're on the Fed now, by the way. And that's the gallows. You can't see it, but the gallows are there. One of these days I'll have to hang around long enough to we'll actually have to go see the gallows. There you go. Yeah, exactly. There you go, Gary. Straight to the point. I like it. Yeah. Yeah. Which does remind me, as a voracious reader in my early youth and all the way through. I'm trying to think, when did I not read books? I'm trying to think how old I was before I wasn't just regularly consuming a lot of written material. Probably pretty close to 30, when I at least started taking breaks from just almost obsessively taking in as much written material as possible in some regards. But, there was a lot of written material that was anti-male masturbation, especially amongst the youth, as far as trying to prevent it, even, if that makes sense. And my father himself, the Bible used because of Onan, right, to teach me that masturbation is like literally morally wrong. Like there was more of that was going on, right? Which I don't know is altogether a bad thing necessarily, right? A balance, arguably, would be the way to go, I would imagine. Somewhere between just openly sexualizing the children in pretty much all areas, as far as I can tell, versus like, masturbation is a sin type of stuff. Reminds me one time, and when I was on Twitter briefly, and I certainly have a mind for Twitter. My writing skill is tweet. Ultimately, that's, or not style, but I'm very at home in that arena. And somehow I was involved in some sort of back and forth about some kind of moral topic, and I think it was related to sexuality, or at least adjacent. And this one fella, I could just tell that he had certain specific beliefs. So finally, I just bottom lined it. I said, yes or no, is masturbation a sin? And he said yes. And that literally ended the debate, because none of the people watching the debate and, chiming in on occasion, none of them would have considered there to be anything wrong with masturbation. So I was like, oh, okay. Here's how I can win and end this whole thing. And I knew he would say yes. It's like some people will see the tactic. I'll see the tactic and still just answer the fucking question. It's called intellectual integrity. I have it for me, not for y'all. It's for me, mother truckers. That's right. I don't identify as a trucker, to be fair, to be real, to be honest, to be many things, and to also not amount to a hill of beans. There's the moon. Not quite full, but lovely nonetheless. I do identify as a homeless person, though. At one time, I would have said I would have identified as something I'm not even going to say right now, involving stigmas, societal stigmas. That certainly not on paper, though. I'm not a stigma. I'm not stigmatized on paper, and my skin is white as paper. And, that avoids certain stigmas. Although increasingly, actually, that brings its own stigma. A particular news event in the news cycle, like there may be right now. Now I start getting looked at like I might be a part of that. Like, wait a minute, y'all lumping me in. I'm not involved. And some of these country folk, every once in a while, get up in arms and get all riled up and want to start talking about getting rid of the Muslims, or not having the Muslims in the area, maybe in the certain areas. I say, well, I might be, I might not oppose you, but here's the thing is, can y'all tell the difference? Because some of them folks ain't Muslim. So like, can you tell the difference between a Muslim and a Sikh? Because we need to keep them Sikhs. Them are fine folks as far as I can tell. So yeah, I might be on board, and this is tongue in cheek. I'm obviously would not be on board. I'll just kind of go with their premise, but then I'll throw a little wrinkle in there for them to chew on. See, well, y'all better learn how to spot a Sikh, because they ain't always got their headgear on, as far as I know. Maybe they do much of the time, but probably possible. Although some would say, well, the real ones will never not have it on. Well, whatever, man. I'm not here to go down them paths. Real trucker has to be full of tats. Oh, I don't know about that. That's personal. I do like a lot of tattoo art. I will say that as a fan of art. There's a lot of cool fucking tattoos. I won't even try to pretend like that's not the case. But it's not for me. It's not for me to have tattoos or to be tatted. It's not in my path. And I'm not sure it's altogether healthy. Certainly goes into the bloodstream, right? There's humans walking. I'm waiting for them to get wherever they're going, so I can continue in that direction. Something else I find interesting about being in public is, especially when we were talking earlier about how it used to be much louder in the old days in public, but the flip side of that is now it's much quieter. But then I've noticed a lot of times nobody has nothing to say. Yeah, y'all was going the other way, now you're coming this way. If you're coming this way for me, I would not advise that you come anywhere near me. That would be whatever we're thinking and doing, I'm just telling you that as you directly walk towards me after walking in the other direction, I would not recommend that. And if that message is not clear or understood, I don't really know what to tell you. Okay, well, let's not come any closer if that's all right. Because I'm prepared to defend myself physically in this moment, and this is as close as I would be comfortable with you coming to me. You can try to figure out who I am all you want, but you're going to do it while I'm in the defensive ready position. While I'm in the defensive ready position, you're going to figure out who I am. So if you come closer, I might start to fear for my life, is what I'm saying. Defensive manner, sir. I'm displaying a firearm in a defensive manner as is my right as a human. And I'm doing it on a live stream. On a live stream. Yeah. See, this is what happens when you walk up on me, buddy. It might become life or death very quickly. And that's why, folks, on the live stream, I can't be in public anymore without being armed. Because you never know when people on the streets at 3:20 in the morning might want to insert themselves into whatever you're trying to do. And they weren't going to stop coming till I showed them what I showed them. And I certainly would not trust my ability to escape on foot. And in fact, we might be down here with the Glock 21 SF on the hip next time. We might be down here with the Glock 21 SF on the hip next time. We might not even conceal carry next time. Next time we might open carry down here, as is my right as a human. And I didn't lose my gun privileges, by the way. A lot of these folks done lost their gun privileges. I didn't. Nope. Now, if it's a right and not a privilege, how can I lose it? Still in the defensive ready position, by the way. Guy put a flashlight on me. Now, see, everybody's a cop, y'all. That's a cop. But he's almost like a gang also. Like, this is his territory, right? And they're all on meth, bro. They're all on meth. And a person on meth, everything that happens is about them. So if I'm down here on a live stream, it's about them. See? Meanwhile, no adrenaline dump. Benton's heart rate did increase slightly, but not much. Just a little bit. Yeah. Isn't that fucking crazy? Welcome to America, kids. Welcome to America. 45 reasons not to come this way, partner. Yeah, I'm open carrying now. I'm not even bullshitting. I'm open carrying next time. Glock 45 on the hip. Haven't had to go defensive ready since Fort Worth. And one in the chamber, and we came out of the holster. We came out of the trigger guard holster. The dude was going to attack me, 100% going to attack me. No question about it. They were walking away from me when I first saw them. Next thing I know, they're coming right at me. Both of them. They were just going to straight up rob me. There's no 100%. There was one other time in Portland when I realized that people were going to try to rob me, and I thwarted it. And I don't know if y'all know, everything down here is being recorded on audio and video. It's got nothing to do with me walking around. I mean, there's a reason why there's not cops walking around anymore. Although there is, because as we've noticed, many people are cops, right? Now I also have to have a flashlight. Like now for my safety, I can't even be down here without a light. Yeah, I have to get out of here because I can't fucking see as well as I would be able to. Yeah. Yeah. Safety, folks. And, I know that I'm in charge of my safety 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yeah, can't walk into the dark places anymore without a flashlight. Fuck. Let me kick myself in the face for the 100th time over losing Music Holds the Secret's light. Yeah, first defensive display of a firearm on stream. And then he's trying to tell me stuff. Like, what was he even trying to tell me? Well, I guess it's good I didn't show my piece on stream. Remember, no guns on stream. So yeah, maybe do I need to, now that I'm a partner, a YouTube partner, do I need to email them and say, yeah, what about when the street people try to attack me downtown near the National Historic Site? And I pull my piece, defensive display of a firearm. And that's where it comes in to know the laws. And what I would say is, number one, if a person is carries a firearm defensively, I'm never pointing it at a person unless I'm going to pull the trigger, period. It's never pointed at anybody. It's never pointed at anything but the ground, typically. Although I learned if I go into a gun store, don't point the gun at the ground thinking that's a safe direction, because if it were to discharge inside, well, now we're worried about a ricochet. Actually, they would tell me to point it at the wall, more or less. Yeah, if it was loaded and it did go off, it's going to go that way. Versus if you bounce it off the floor, sir, it may bounce all around the room and then take somebody out. Oh, thanks, yeah. But man, once they get fueled up on this meth, bro, I'm safer outside the night spot with the drunks, man, at this point. But yeah, but see, these people have no fear of me. And, I have been intimidating in the past, like, certainly. I'm not proud of it, really, but because I am a pacifist on some level, but my forcefulness and all of that, like, I've certainly intimidated people at times. But dude, when they get fueled up on that meth, and I'm sure that guy has testosterone that's higher than mine probably, but at this point, but yeah, there's no fucking fear, man. No fucking fear. None. And I don't care who they are. I don't care what. And he kept saying something. He wants to figure out who I am. See, that ties in with the meth heads I've been telling y'all about. Everything that happens, the fact that they were walking and I just happened to be there, that's a connection for them. So in their mind, they feel like they have a right to figure out and investigate and resolve what the fuck's going on, like for their own edification. They really believe that. Meanwhile, I don't believe that. I don't care. It's none of my concern. Fuck off. Like that's your problem. Yeah. Meanwhile, look, I'll just say it, y'all. I don't care how this sounds. I've known that, and this ties in with what RT said yesterday. He's asking me, and I'm getting sort of angry in the moment because I am annoyed and frustrated that most people haven't really, most people, now if I'm not talking to you, I'm not talking to you. Most people haven't contended with that and have not accepted their own mortality, right? So that gets projected onto me, but I don't mean like projection like, oh, it's a gotcha moment. I mean, no, I'm talking about the actual clinical definition of psychology of projection. It's natural for me to project onto another being a more or less something like I'm made up, right? Which that is helpful and does work. And in fact, that's a way to become more empathic, or has been for me, right? But then it's situational, and how does the person actually, implement or engage with that, right? So if I many years ago figured out certain things about me and about life, and I talk about I'm a strategic thinker and I'm naturally strategic. Well, part of that is, as soon as I realized this, I'm going to die one day no matter what, there's strategies and there's involved in how I work with that for the rest of my life. It's a better strategy for me to fully accept my mortality and move forward on that basis, so that I don't fall into a lot of pitfalls and disasters and blunders that I see other people making, such as, just go read one of those articles. If one is so inclined, one may choose to read those articles about, top 10 deathbed regrets. It's usually from like hospice nurses or whatever. It's a compilation. Well, at a certain point, I read one of those lists and said, well, I'm on track to have none of these regrets on the deathbed. And that is because of utilizing a strategy based in part on knowing that no matter what the fuck happens, this incarnation of the being will end, or at least will not continue on in this way, as far as I know, until something changes, right? Until something changes. And I'm telling you, folks, I can't give advice, but I personally am not willing to be on foot of any areas like this without being armed. And I spent damn near a decade living out of a backpack, sleeping rough in areas like this. Never felt like I needed a weapon, literally. Now, occasionally I would deal with something sort of like that, and I just had to handle it in the best way I could without a firearm. But, dude, things have changed. I'd say the tensions have risen, right? Maybe it was DEFCON 3, and then now it's not quite DEFCON 1. I guess that would be a Mad Max. But tell me this ain't a zombie apocalypse. And that's what meanwhile, law enforcement's thick as hell around here. So if that's the type of people who manage to be not incarcerated in Arkansas, and the fucking U.S. Marshals are here in town, I don't know. Maybe he helps train them. Maybe he's in deep cover training for the U.S. Marshals. So you just never know, man. But maybe he was reverting to his law enforcement training, wanting to identify me. He was, as far as I was concerned, in that moment, but the way he was coming across and his body language and his vocal tone, he was a cop. And that's where you get these lefties, the lefty commies will, at a certain point, as far as they're concerned, it's like everybody's a cop. But that's like early on, that's early on when, they're the ones having their speech. They're the ones having their speech hindered and all. They don't put up with it. And that's that whole free speech movement of the 60s. And of course, a lot of that bled into the 70s. It's really like late 60s, early 70s. But, yeah, they don't put up with it. Yeah, man. Just coming right at me. Yeah. And put a flashlight on me. Which, look, it's a fair play, man. I do enjoy the kind of the no holds barred aspects, but look, and this is what I've been dancing around, and I haven't just come out and said it, but, and I've heard certain other people make similar statements, and my problem is that I'm not that good at hinting, and I end up having to just say things explicitly. But if I would have defended myself with deadly force, but only if he forced me to do, meaning if he had begun to close that distance, I would have done what I felt like I had to do in that moment, period. And I also understand that, anything I say can and will be used against me in a court of law. Like this, I'm speaking for the public record, or this is the public record in some regard. This broadcast is a part of that, at least. So, if something were to occur in the future, although Arkansas, man, I like my chances of maybe even not getting prosecuted, although who knows, but for self-defense, specifically for a self-defense scenario. But I also understand, again, talking to the record, just I can imagine a court case in the future where like this is put into evidence, this actual discourse I'm delivering. So I understand the implications, certainly, to be sure. But if I had to have defended myself, I would have just been able to go eat normally the rest of the day. I'll go get a good night's sleep. Yeah, it would be unfortunate, and I'm sure I would feel some type of way about it, but it's not going to affect me that much. And I've known that about myself for a very, very, very long time. I have no desire to engage in those activities, but if I had to, I don't think it would bother me that much, because I would just be like, well, that's what I had to do. I had no choice in the matter. I told him what was going to happen if he continued, and he decided that he was my huckleberry or whatever. And what happened, happened. And I don't think it would go too far beyond that. I really don't. Hang on real quick. Highly Suspect's replying to my email. Mr. Suspect says Saturday works for him. So yeah, I'm hoping to, I'm always working. Yeah, so I'm always working behind the scenes to try to get, things going on the broadcast, even if I'm not putting out, even if I'm not doing better content, right? They wilding out downtown. They wilding out. Forgot what I was saying. Yeah, no, thank God, no desire to do any of them things to anybody. Some folks that they want to do stuff like that. I don't want to do anything like that, but I'm cold as ice in that moment. No adrenaline dump, no heightened fucking, just dissociated probably. I mean, honest, let's call it what it is. I probably dissociated to some extent. To some extent. Defensive display of a firearm. I'm probably open carrying. Well, I'll say this: I'll be sticking to the well-lighted areas if I'm not open carrying. I don't really want to be doing this on the main boulevard here. This is one of the main downtown street. I don't really want to be down here. Classic move, by the way. Someone crosses to my side, so I cross to their side. He's just going his own way, though. Imagine that, a human being just doing their own thing down here and not trying to involve me in it. Amazing. Well, it's been a fun stream. I'm definitely enjoying the IRL content. I'd love to. I think I might have found, I don't want to say my niche, but I may have found something here as far as going to various downtowns and then more or less live streaming until I have to defensively display a firearm, although not legal in some areas. Check with the local authorities, right? And I don't mean like legal as far as, I know I have a right to defend myself. I know I have a right to have what I need to defend my life. Like, I know all of these things. Just saying what the authorities, the so-called local authorities, may consider to be illegal. And in some states, it's just they will always prosecute for even something that's clearly, obviously self-defense, open and shut case. Some jurisdictions always prosecute anyway. I think Arkansas would have a decent chance, assuming everything was good, right? Oh, I think I'm body camming up too after that. I'm body camming up. I really should have been rolling body cam, because think about that. Because I would have completely abandoned the handheld. Probably always have to be rolling on the body cam, realistically. See, even as vigilant as I am, is even me being predisposed to high levels of vigilance, I can even get caught off my game a little bit. I have a body cam on me in my pocket, though. It's no good in the pocket, sir. And it definitely would have been to my advantage, I believe. Well, no, it could never be a disadvantage, actually, for me to have the body cam footage. And perhaps the only existing video footage, although I'm pretty sure we were being recorded down there. I mean, let's be serious. I don't think there's probably, and especially that being that close to a federal, it's effectively zero chance we were not at least being audio recorded. Maybe just the video might have been some version of FLIR, maybe, but if not, I don't think that just a regular camera would have caught too much. Definitely not if there'd been like motion involved and split-second decisions that are going to be broke down in a trial potentially, in excruciating detail. And in fact, my last homeless hot summer in Little Rock, before I finally eventually made it to Austin and decided to take my ass to the Sally after spending 48 hours under a tarp for a gigantic storm that in some ways never was, right? I said, fuck this. Well, a big part of me finally choosing to leave that lifestyle and go through the process of becoming going through the process of being qualified and having the skill level to uh, earn my living or work as a long haul truck driver. Was just these meth heads, man. They're the scum of the earth. Drunks are the worst, but meth heads are the scum of the earth. And I'm not backing off of that. And I've had personal friends that were meth heads, and I myself damn near drank myself to death a little over a year now, I guess. Somewhat over a year now. Yeah, turn on the body cam, sir. It's time to do things properly. Yeah, I would have really been kicking myself. Oh, so you have a body cam with you some of the time, Mr. Benton? Yes. And you're saying it was in your pocket at the time of this incident. How convenient, sir. I mean, I'm not even saying that would be a tactic, but yeah, it is. It seems that it is a tad silly to have the thing, but not really be using the thing. Yeah, that's messed up. Yeah, so I even started just straight up telling them. I said, listen, I said, I know most of y'all done lost your fucking firearm privileges. I said, I never lost my firearm privileges. I said, I can just go buy a pistol, right, and legally carry a motherfucking pistol out here. And I said, and then eventually, y'all are so fucking. I just told this to them, to the meth heads. Just told them this, just straight to their face. I said, well, hell, y'all are. The reality is, just having it on me is not going to be enough. He said, I'm probably going to have to kill one of y'all in self-defense. And I said, and you know what? Y'all are so hard-headed. I'm probably going to have to kill a couple of you in self-defense before y'all. But I said, y'all are going to learn. The solution when y'all see me is leave me the fuck alone. I just tell them straight to their face. I said, when y'all see me, you just need. I understand y'all are all fucking spun out, and every little fucking wind that blows or leaf that rattles or you know what I'm trying to say. It has something to do with y'all personally. But believe it or not, I'm out here living my life irrespective of whatever you bozo meth heads are up to. Not you, the listener, but obviously. See, now I do it too, highly suspect. So I'm attempting to train myself out of that habit. But I'm losing the fight. I continue to lose that fight, sir. Yeah, anybody wants to see, although I don't know what even came through, you probably saw almost none of that interaction, because I think eventually I'm going from memory. I believe I turned the handheld around to show the people. So maybe I got them on stream. I don't know. Yeah, we defensive display of a firearm, although not on stream. I think at one point I tried to show it, not thinking that we're not allowed to show firearms on live stream, but it was so dark, I'm pretty sure nothing actually showed up on the screen. No N-bombs. That's right. Yeah, Texas speech. That's right. I don't know, man. Yeah, y'all know I got the balls to do it, but I don't know. It would come down to strategery, or being able to feed oneself. Right. Do I really want to be that level of slave to the content? I think I've proven I can more or less put out every day, right? 7 days. Even if I'm only putting 4 to 5 hours of actual work in total, I could probably put in close to 7 or 8 a day, 7 days a week, probably. Wouldn't be doing much beyond that, though. Well, and then here's another thing, when I was dealing with that fella, I'm just going based on that he's not carrying a firearm. And that's really partially my own naivete, but it's partially my profiling of just doesn't seem like the type of individual who's down here, armed, right? But I'm playing the odds there, I do, thinking back over the situation, if that happens again, and probably I will find myself in a similar situation in the future. Like, if that happens, then it's for me to be prepared for a potential shootout in the low light, and I'm old, and he's got young eyes, and I can't fucking see hardly, which my night vision is really good for my age, but it's certainly, I used to have stellar vision in all regards. I had probably just about the best vision a human could have. I'm not even kidding. Like, it sounds what are you, the fucking bionic man or whatever? $7 million man. I'm not even saying that, but I had just insane eyesight in all regards until, I guess, probably till the malabsorption, realistically. I guess that would have been what got it. And see, this is what cars do. See, they pull up the intersection and they always want to base whatever they're going to do off of whatever I'm doing, but they don't bother to consider and they got the tail light out, bad idea. Check your vehicles, folks. I mean, I'm not here to advise anybody. I check my vehicle on a somewhat regular basis. Because I might choose to drive with a tail light out, but I certainly wouldn't. It would be very, very bad in my view to be driving with a tail light out and not know the tail light's out. That's the problem, more so than the tail light being out. I need to know, right? One on the street and two in the meat. I don't even know what that means at this point, but yeah, I mean, my gunfighting skills. I think sometimes some folks probably have especially with my accent and all of this. I'm not a firearms expert. I'm not. I'm at a level where I feel proficient, but that's based on me needing to be able to point to actual real world factors. It's not an emotion. It's I believe I've demonstrated to myself based on what I've seen me do that I'm proficient, but I don't know how far beyond that actual proficiency it goes. So, for what it's worth, but I feel comfortable, and I'm certainly able to keep my head in a scenario like that. I've got a lot of experience in just sketchy, dangerous situations, so that helps. Certainly. Oh, no, we don't. There's no such thing as a warning shot, sir. And this is what I was talking about earlier. Movies, have programmed a lot of this into us. And even I've heard a lot of guys who, like, their daddy taught them to don't start the fight, but finish the fight. And then that gets turned into some version of, don't throw the first punch, which realistically, if I know that there's going to be a fist fight and I'm going to be in the fist fight, unless I really am some badass motherfucker with fighting skills, it's a super horrible idea to give my opponent the advantage out of the gate. That's a really bad strategy. And if we were to run the numbers on number of times the person, the person doesn't have the advantage, and in fact lets the other person have the initiative, what percentage of the time do they win versus what percentage of the time do they lose? And if we even if we grade on a curve based on fighting skill, being able to overcome some of that, it's still a disaster from a statistical and from a risk assessment standpoint. It's a fucking disaster. But yeah, violence indeed. Well, and that's the thing is, and that's where people like Highly Suspect, who, I don't want to speak for him, but there are people who have a lot of experience with it in some regards, and I don't. Realistically, I've been in a lot of, I've had a lot of experience in situations that very well could have become violent, and I had a plan and a strategy for what would I do. But most of the time, rarely have I had to put those plans into action, although that's happened also in various ways, where I've been more or less forced to do something physical. And the thing is, I don't know what I'm going to do in those moments. I really don't. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. I know I'm going to do something, and I won't hesitate. Once I know that it's the right thing to do is act, I don't hesitate. I just immediately act. That's a skill too, right? But so if he would have just decided to rush me, I mean, fuck, we're past the part of am I really going to do this, or even worse, like, I don't have the resolve to do this, and now, look, he's taken away my firearm, and now I'm bleeding to death. Like, that's the real thing that happens to people, and I shouldn't even say and I really, in some way now, I shouldn't even speak that way, but believe me, the vigilance it's clearing it all. The record's being corrected in some way. Yeah, I don't truly believe that way, but I think you know what I'm saying. Like, if he sort of had control of the situation at that point. If he wanted to, he could have forced my hand. And then what if he's like Benton? Benton says, I won't be bluffed. See, so what if even though he's the aggressor and he's the one transgressing, what if he's got a code where he's like, well, I'm not letting this guy bluff me, because now he knows he's got to live the rest of his life, and maybe a punk like me bluffed him, right? Because he might decide he don't really know, am I really what I'm portraying myself as? See that all that's been decided when he decides to lunge at me. Now I was very close to beginning to back up, by the way, and then that's where we talk about so-called stand your ground laws. I almost started walking backwards. That was based on the speed at which they were closing the distance on me. So they actually, right about the time I didn't start to back away from them, and meanwhile, there was a time in which I had no idea what was going on behind me, and if they had a third person with them, I would have been in big trouble potentially, because I did lose track of what was behind me. Though I do have a pretty good spidey sense for humans creeping up. I do have a pretty good spidey sense. So I think I would have been okay. But yeah, it's fun to break all that down. For me, it's fun. Most folks are allergic to any sort of comprehensive breakdown, especially in excruciating detail, right? This looks pretty skatable, JG. This looks skatable, sir. Not by me, of course, but JG could probably skate it. Been seeing some wild stuff on the skateboarding, on the tubes, on the YouTubes. It's getting wild, man. Oh, well, if I had some cardboard with me, I could sit down. People don't a lot of folks just don't understand why us homeless fellas love the cardboard so much. If I had some with me, I could sit down on this concrete. Well, why not sit down on the concrete? Well, because it causes hemorrhoids. That's why. Ask me how I know. Yeah, we're not sitting on the concrete for any length of time. That would be a disaster. Although this is kind of a disaster, because now I realize I've hemmed myself in physically. See, I am responsible, as is everyone. I am responsible for my own safety, certainly, as we've seen on stream, right? Good luck topping that Z, by the way. Shout out to 30 in the house. Thanks, brother. Yeah, the best one. Yeah. And this is bumfuck Arkansas. We can only really go up from here, honestly. Now, I do want to hit some of these towns, man. I want to go to some of these downtowns, because I've been hearing for a couple of years now, the scuttlebutt is that some of these, like southern Arkansas towns, especially the ones that have these small colleges. Of course, it's small. They're all small colleges for the most part. Even University of Arkansas is a relatively small university. Relatively, I think it's probably 20,000 students by now. Closer to 10 when I was there. Might be 15. I don't know. I have to look it up. But yeah, I'd like to go to some of them little towns. Where my dad's at's one of them. There's a University of Arkansas, Monticello, UAM. Used to be Arkansas Agricultural, Mechanical, and Negro. And I'm not kidding. That was the name of the university. In fact, my grandfather coached football there, actually, at Monticello. And they first, I believe it was their first football conference championship, the old AIC, Arkansas Intercollegiate Conference, I believe was it. Nice. Now I'm south of the Roosters. 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 Is this mural? That mural. Oh, yeah. I am the TV, sir. Now, at least these ones across the street, if I wasn't on the earbuds, you could hear them. Streamer failed. Streamer fail. with respect to the proper equipment for the application, right? And I turned and looked. They're facing right towards me. More meth heads though. Well, and then this is a dead giveaway. If it's 3:54 a.m. and the gentleman is carrying bicycle parts, probably he's probably a meth head. Guy's carrying just like a bicycle wheel rim. I mean, this is the zombie apocalypse. Tell me that it's not full zombie apocalypse. This is it. This is the collapse, y'all. We're living the collapse, but we've been given such vivid imagery and predictive programming at the level of what a zombie apocalypse would look like. It has to, look, until Tina Turner's in a fucking wearing animal fur, it's not a zombie apocalypse. As far as we know. I mean, for real. Oh, there's a skateboarder down here. Maybe I'll go grab my skateboard. Although I won't, because I'm not willing to risk I think my bone density's probably been affected throughout all these ordeals. So, probably not going to risk breaking any bones. I made it to 47, I guess. Yeah, I was almost 47 when I broke my heel. Had never broken a bone other than, my hands, my fingers or whatever. Yeah. Well, and then also that guy at least figured out that I'm actually recording me, right? Because he was making fun of me, like, look at me, I'm on TV. Which I do appreciate it, because, I should be, in my view, I should be made fun of on that level to some extent. Damn. Oh, shit. Turned the camera on, but I never recorded. I never told it to start recording. Then the card's going to start filling up. I have to remember to start formatting the card. Not a big deal, though. And I don't know what Bex is doing. Is Bex still live? But we capping. We capping. No cap, we capping. We capping out here, Bex. And we've been capping out here, Bex. Just let me get on some library Wi-Fi. Library 250 megabits per second upload. Let me get on that. People have more or less abandoned these downtowns anyway. Why shouldn't I come out here and do my live streams at 4 a.m.? I'm sure some cities are still lit at 4 a.m., but I can remember a time when there definitely would have been way more things open down here. Bars. It's not that unusual to have a place that stays open until 5 a.m. in Arkansas. It doesn't seem like that type of a place, but there's absolutely, Hot Springs is one of them. There's probably somewhere in Hot Springs open until 5 a.m. I'd be very surprised, although maybe that changed to some extent during the fake pandemic, but I'm pretty sure some of them establishments, as long as they are still in business, if they're allowed to, they're open till 5 a.m. And that's the law says. The law makes them shut down, as far as I know. And I know here they can go at least till 2. Although the Roosters, hell, I don't know if it's even closed yet. It's 4. I think maybe it's closed. They were open at 2 because I got down here. Yeah. So I know Arkansas don't seem like one of them places, but it is. Those that want to go out tend to go pretty hard. or have historically. Well, and this place down here by the motel, I think on the weekends is open more or less all night. I don't know exactly what you mean there. Highly suspect. I know exactly what you mean. Everybody's on drugs, man. That's the thing about 2023. Me, including me. I'm on the fucking synthetic THC, but you know, yeah. If I say everybody's on drugs in 2023, well, that including me, right? I didn't say everybody but me. I said everybody. To me, that's the number one thing about interacting with folks is that they just more often than not they own drugs. More often than not. So that's always a factor. How could it not be? Your sauce is dripping. I'm used to being the weird one around here. What? What? Oh, millennial. I got a sister that's a millennial. I don't know if you know that. I guess she's one of the oldest millennials. But yeah, I got a sister born in 1980. So yeah, that is she's the oldest of the millennials. She's definitely not Gen X. I have to say that. I don't know, man. Sometimes I think as a Gen Xer, I think we love ourselves so much. It's just it's probably better that other people we're almost completely unappreciated in any aspect or regard, directly anyway. Maybe when it comes to certain aspects of pop culture, that where Gen X has to be acknowledged at least tacitly because of many of these things were founded. Although Star Wars predated, not by much though. Yes, no, that's true. Star Wars is Gen X. See, that's exact. See, I don't even understand necessarily, and I'm an anthropologist on some level, and love to study cultures and all of these things, sociology. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Star Wars is Gen X, 77. I'm Gen X, 75. And pretty much all the pop culture shit, not all of it, but a lot of it is Gen X, period. Transformers is Gen X. Fucking G.I. Joe. Although I guess G.I. Joe's not. I think it was technically came from my dad's generation. So I guess G.I. Joe's boomer. Ah! Hurry up, get across this street. Yeah, fuck those people, man. And I really don't want to open carry, so I'm probably just not going to go that far into the shadows in the future. Had to run because I knew he was going to come try to get a piece of me. Again, no advantage to me walking in front of somebody's vehicle. It's like, yeah, unless somebody makes a full and complete stop, I'm not walking in front of their vehicle. And people want to keep rolling like towards me. Like, no, I'm not going to walk in front of your rolling vehicle, but thanks anyway. I'll just wait over here. And especially now that I've already stopped, my motivation was to continue moving, not to stop. Definitely got to get this car fixed soon, though. Just realizing that sometimes those repairs can take longer than we may think, so longer than we may expect. Some rat fink. We got some rat fink. Fucking retard. That's what I mean with me and mirrors. I'm fucking lost in my own sauce here. Where'd rat fink go? Good Lord, too many variables. Ah, yes. Well, yeah, that happens to me also. Kindness mistaken for weakness. Although that's not exactly what you're saying. Yeah, in a way, um, which is fine because I'm anything but that. The thing about avoiding conflict when possible, I think it's important to emphasize the when possible because sometimes it's not possible. So sometimes I know the first time I encounter certain homeless people, I know that I just need to let them know that I'm just as aggressive as they are, if not more so. And as long as they just leave me the fuck alone, I'm not going to have anything to say about whatever they're doing. But I have to be left out of it, right? And they need to know that I'm only ever going to respond to their aggression with aggression. 100% of the time across the board. So fighting fire with fire, hopefully not burning down the house. Although the house is already on fire anyway. So I reckon that horse is out of the barn. If I may mix my metaphors. I think eventually, like, if I'm here doing these, I'll probably just more or less have to pick a certain area each night, just kind of, or early morning rather. I guess it is still night for a lot of folks. Morning for me, since I've already been to sleep. I'll probably just have to pick a spot and not go too far away from that spot. And it could be a different spot, but now I'm getting more and more motivated. I need motivation to get this car fixed. I just don't. I don't care anymore. I'm having. Now maybe that things are changing. This may be to RT's point. Like I've been living my life based on strategies, based on understanding my mortality. But so I'm just becoming more of what I already was, if that makes sense. So, like, on some level, I've never gave a fuck about a car. I've never gave a fuck about a computer, any possession. On some level, I've always known, impermanence, or effectively as an adult, I've had a pretty good grasp of the impermanence of whatever this is. So, but now it's like I really do need I actually need motivation to get the car worked on because I really don't care. I really don't care. I just don't, man. But I see that it's a tool for the content potentially. So I'm thinking about. I'm losing interest in the stuff that I do on my computer. Although I wouldn't be if I had a proper internet connection, if that makes sense. But, I'm starting to like this more because, surprise, surprise, the way this has been happening and where I've been doing them, no network issues. And I'm sure the video quality goes up and down at StreamYard, but overall, I'm pretty sure we're getting through. Whatever the speed test on the uplink is, and it stays on the 5G down here. When I bitch about the 5G, as long as it stays on 5G, there's no problem. The problem is it starts off on 4G, then like after like 20 minutes, it's on 5G, but then sometimes it goes back to 4G, and when it goes back to 4G, it usually fucks up the stream pretty much every time. Yeah, here it works great down here because it just stays on 5G. If that makes sense. So why I don't have more ability, and I'm sure the software exists, I just don't. I probably need to root the phone and install custom software, or not whatever we're calling that. Install a different operating system and software. I could have some control over, like, hey, only connect to this tower or whatever. But then I'm running the risk of just the connection dropping. But that has to be customizable somehow. Oh God. And apparently some phones can be told just stay in 4G, but neither one of mine is one of those. I don't know that we're leaving, but I noticed I went and got in the car, so I guess we're. We need to hydrate. What needs to happen? Take care of your basic needs, sir. Yeah, fuck these people, man. I just don't want nothing to do with these people. And I'm not, to me, at the risk of sounding cynical, but I am that, certainly in some regards. Or being critical, which also is my nature, always has been. But, um, when I interface with the general public, I know that they're deep down, they're more like what we saw with the guy who, very nearly forced me into an actual fucking self-defense situation. I technically it was that anyway. I can't, and I'm pretty good at telling when somebody's just kind of blustering and like sort of, like a false charge, right? Like an animal that will charge, but it'll do a false charge. And I don't believe that was, especially with him and his woman, presumably, because I don't know how much showed on camera, but it was a tall guy, probably in his 30s, I'm assuming, most likely a meth head. High probability that they were both on meth. And he certainly appeared to be either homeless or homeless adjacent, but sometimes that's just po folks that live indoors, right? Certainly a certain meth chic, right? If that's even a thing. Shout out to Pale Horse Rider. That's the 1999 super sticker. Thank you, sir. And most likely, assuming, sir, rather, assuming genders, but haven't committed yet, but strongly considering after my first YouTube payment, which may be actually middle of next month. It's not been made clear. Could be as late as middle of October, though. But so haven't committed, but strongly considering after the after that first payment that I'll just start giving all of the YouTube, or not subscriptions, the YouTube. Although I'm considering subscriptions, but I probably won't do them through YouTube if I ever have anything like that. And even the idea of subscribing on I'm not even sure I even want anything to do with that. I'd have to really think about it. But I'm not just like opposed to it either across the board, obviously. But yeah, all super chats and super stickers to my mama, possibly. Strongly considering doing that because she's talking about having to go back to work. And, not that I would ever expect this, but especially if I started an IRL channel, if it actually took off and I started, what if I could just do, 3 IRL videos a week or 5 even, but lightly produced, lightly edited, right? And if that actually paid my basic expenses, I would love to do, what if this was big enough to pay for itself eventually and then kick her enough that she could at least stop looking for fucking jobs. Apparently she's been job hunting, at least to some extent. I guess she's starting some training program. My mom, when she thinks she's going to have to work, she tends to like to go get training, which I think is a good idea. But then she was doing stenographer for a while, and I don't think she ever completed that. I know she never worked as a court reporter or anything like that. My mom's good at stuff like that. I'm not exactly sure why she started and then stopped, but probably some version of life happened, or that's just how people are. Not everybody's a maniac like me and just mostly accomplishes what they. I generally, if I set a goal, I generally accomplish it. Like truck driving, I just once I set my mind to it, I was not going to be stopped in spite of numerous obstacles in my path. Right? Even had to stand on the desk of my Goodwill case manager, who was, the one managing, getting me maneuvered through, because Goodwill had their own formalized process. I even had to go to like a workshop, me and one person, a one-on-one workshop. And again, we're back to man's bureaucracy and these systems in organizations growing to a level. It's a cliche, but they say, they have to justify their own existence or whatever. Saw how bright my face lit up when the headlights hit me, right? And see, there's just a normal person. He probably works at the night spot. You couldn't see him, but he just got in his car and drove away like a fucking normal person. There's still some, whatever that means, normal people out here, right? Thank you for the advice, Thanks for the advice, Tribe. I'm certainly um, I don't reject out of hand all random advice my way. Certain people, I certainly, you know, Tribe is qualified in many regards to give me specific information. I would say so. Well, I still resist the part where it's, from my perspective, I feel like I'm being told what to do and ordered about. I understand intellectually that's not actually what is happening here, but and I'm still annoyed slightly. But that's a me problem. See, here's it internalized, Benton. See, that's a me problem. But thanks, that's good advice. Now, certainly, I'm grateful that right now I have serviceable level of equipment for the IRL stuff. But he's right in that I will necessarily be if I end up going all in, like I think I'm going to. And that's where the camcorder. I've been talking about a camcorder, but part of me is not sure on if that's the right way to go. Probably, a more expensive phone. Unfortunately, fortunately slash unfortunately, something maybe with way better cameras. I know Sony makes. In fact, when I just look at what phone would I buy if I was willing to spend if I was willing to drop $1,000 on a phone, which I'm not, or I haven't been historically, but it's most likely going to be one of those Sonys, man. Those Sonys are badass. And yeah, I know there will be issues around however they implement their own software and all those things. But yeah, Sony Vio, right? Yeah, Sony Vio. I think that's what they call them. That's branding from the old days. My dad had a Sony Vio computer at a certain point. My parents did. Paid way too much for whatever that was. It wasn't junk, but just Sony's version of a PC with a CRT monitor and a tower and the whole nine. Leo arrogant. Well, uh, yeah, that's always a factor. Certainly, I mean that's baked in, right? But then we get the boom bust cycle of I'm always like I'm always in some cycle of my getting puffed up with pride and then being humbled. And when I say something outside of me or circumstances occurring to where now I have no choice, if I'm practicing never bullshit myself, which I am 99.9% of the time, then now I am humbled, right? So it's an ebb and a flow. That's a cyclical thing, more or less, my whole life. The getting the big head and then that bubble, that balloon bursting, and now full on humility, which is very close to humiliation, right? And then what is the being's tolerance for experiencing humiliation? Mine's fairly high, in some ways because of how I was socialized in the Jehovah's Witness religion, and I took to certain aspects of the brainwashing and the mind control, more strongly than some other people, like my sisters, perhaps. Although I think my sister Jessica, in certain ways, got some of that, a pretty good shot of it. Yeah, Xperia, thank you. Yeah, not Vio, Xperia. That's another thing my brain's been doing even since before the fake pandemic to some extent. Transposing certain words, and then also just like thinking about a chair but saying table. Like I've been doing that for years now. So probably some early form of dementia. Just look at the high levels of pollution I would have been exposed to. And by the way, apparently Provo Kid does not agree about the environmental, about autism and its potential links to high levels of pollution in the local area, especially the mom experiencing that, when the child is in utero. But it's debatable, obviously. But he's probably studied it way more than I have. Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, most likely, certainly. I have a form of it, but it's never been a problem for me. I don't know. There's something else in my brain where it's never held me back. So I don't have it like other people say. They try to use it as a crutch or like a reason, or like a learning disability. And maybe they got done a disservice and got diagnosed with dyslexia and then believed it when people said this is a learning disability. I've never been diagnosed with anything that I understood to be a learning disability. And I don't even believe in the concept of a learning disability, by the way, because that would necessarily be actually a double-edged sword if everything here exists in duality except for the creation itself, right, or the creative force, and even that's debatable, or something we might refer to as God. Although, what does that even mean at this point in any of these contexts, various contexts, contices? I don't know. Is that a word? Uh, and I won't even be able to finish that necessarily. But I think the audience, fortunately, the audience collectively being far more intelligent than me will certainly understand, although certain individuals may not. That's okay. Up to and including me. And I'm also in the audience. I'm also one of the audience. And some people, sometimes the issues around me being stilted and awkward in a one-on-one or a back and forth is that the other person is not a very adept at working with certain dynamics, and I am. But I'm doing it. I'm adept from a literal learning disability perspective. So it's a double-edged sword, meaning it's my greatest weakness, but it can be a strength in that, well, now I'm teaching myself how to have these interactions metaversally versus to someone like Christos, if he's also something of a fan of the material, he may, from his perspective, just be having a conversation with Benton. But like, I'm not having a conversation with Christos. I'm performing on a broadcast, which has an element of now I'm also attempting to communicate with Christos. But now the technology is not aligning, and technology is not allowing it. And then all of the various dynamics that I'm not good at any of that naturally. So yeah, I don't even really believe in the concept of a learning disability. I will say this: sometimes the special people are like on a fucking outing to Walmart or whatever, and they're all hanging out near the bench inside, like waiting to get to go out to whatever van they came in to leave, or maybe they're getting picked up or whatever. And I do kind of, on some level, I can tell I do sort of fit in with them. Like, I am one of them, like for real. I'm not even bullshitting, like on some level. It's just an interesting dynamic. And I feel like they sort of sense it also. But then, with the high functioning, the very high functioning is obviously that's, a different. Maybe some of them are smart enough maybe to actually be high functioning, but no, just as long as they don't exhibit it, they're rewarded for sort of not expressing those aspects of themselves. And from their perspective, they may believe they're punished for exhibiting high functioning for whatever reason. I selected as part of my strategy for gaining my parents' approval, like being viewed, not embodying necessarily, but at least being viewed as a rule follower, or one who, can be counted on to do the right thing in many different ways, right? Responsible and dependable. A lot of Virgo attributes, obviously, which that's the sign that I have the most in my chart overall, Virgo. So a bit of a some vibing with old the Yurt fella, certainly. Some of that's the Virgo. Keith, Libra, right? Sun in Libra, so probably some Virgo in his deal there, but I don't want to assume. Could be wrong. Might be more Libra Scorpio, right? Certainly the wateriness of the at times excessive emotions, right? Excessive only meaning, what I mean by excessive is more like the excessiveness has now spilled over into inappropriateness, arguably. And I also fall into that in certain ways. Although Benton does enjoy a nearly full balance in the elements. I don't know if y'all know that. Fairly balanced between all four elements in the chart. So yeah, there's a lot of earth, but so maybe I have more earth than water, but overall fairly balanced. Fairly balanced. It's like, yeah, the earthiness is there, man. Yeah, okay, but the fire, surely surely here the fire is coming out at some point. And what is the communication if not airy? Right. Oh, the Gemini midheaven, the Virgo rising. Virgo's Earth, though. See, I used to have all this memorized. It's like now I'm like, oh shit, what are the three air signs? Gemini, Libra. I want to say Virgo, but at the risk of being seeming, I'm so sure of myself, right? It's like, no, I don't have, I've not memorized astrology, so I'm not even exactly sure. Earth is what? Capricorn, Taurus. I can always get two, and then it's like, what's the third one? Hmm, Pisces is water, right? Yeah. So I love astrology. Number two was a big fan, and I've from my perspective, I've a particularly good birth chart. So. It's easy to just pretend like whatever the negatives are, just be like, well, yeah, but I've worked on that. And sometimes it's true. Oh, yeah, okay, okay, sure, but I've overcome that, but not fully, of course. Yeah, astrology, good time. Virgo is Earth. See, that's what I said. Always go with my gut. That out of the gate, I said Virgo's Earth, right? But then I questioned myself. See? Yeah, Virgo. Hmm. I knew that. Um, yeah, Gemini, Libra. Yeah, vape a bunch of THCO and then try to see how much astrology one has memorized. That's a fun experiment. Where's Z, man? Z, man, fire up the fucking generator. Let's go. I probably need to start watching at least the first part of his show though, because there is some bleed over. So I suspect it could be causing him some issues, right? If I'm his lead in for some of the audience, I might want to start wrapping up about 4:30 and just let people choose their own palate cleanser, right? Choose your own palate cleanser, folks. As the emergency vehicle comes this way, and I'll risk the damage to my eardrums potentially. Oh, I think maybe they see my screen and they've actually, or they've arrived. Very good job by whoever the operator is. That was excellent timing on turning off the siren. How many of those folks kind of want to roll in on a five alarm, but it may not, in fact, be a five alarm? Well done, sir. Probably medical emergency, which in many jurisdictions, the fire department is contractually obligated to respond, and typically they are first on the scene as the fire department. In fact, at the Portland Rescue Mission, comically, sometimes I would be occupying the same stretch of sidewalk while the same fire department came and went like three separate times. Because again, contractually obligated to be first responders. Aries, yeah, a lot of fire in these streets I've noticed. And I've talked about that I am the black sheep of my family in some ways, my immediate family. I'm the only fire sign. And we have few, even in the extended family. My famous relative is a Libra. My dad's a Libra. Talking sun sign only, right? So I don't even like saying I am. I like to say sun in. But then some people are annoyed by that. So it's actually just better to say I am, meaning we mean sun. But I certainly honor, is it Vedic astrology? I certainly honor the Vedic. I think that's what it's called. Uh, when I believe they put more importance on moon. But I like to just go moon, sun, moon, ascendant. I think that's a good to just give the three. I think's help. I think most of us probably understand enough astrology. We could. I know the ladies that pop in here for the most part. If I go Leo, Virgo, Libra, I think they can probably understand if they know the sequences, sun, moon, ascendant. So fellas, if y'all like the ladies, you like talking to the ladies on the interwebs, or in the YouTube streets, in the live chats. Maybe you learn just enough astrology, even if you don't like astrology, fellas. Maybe. And there's always give it a try and then say that's not for me, right? And one could always learn just enough to sort of make fun of the whole thing, as long as it's not in an overly critical or demeaning way or personal way. That can work, right? maybe a little breaking of the fourth wall, not too much, I would say. Well, and then Thunder Chicken, we had an indigenous, I forget the guy's full handle back in the old CBO Discord days. There were a lot of upsides to that Discord. And in fact, the reality is I've subjected myself to lesser intellectual development. I would have developed more intellectually in the time since I left the CBO. By then it was EBT's Discord, actually. I'm assuming it still is, but I don't know. Because once I leave, I leave. Now, if I come back, I'll come back. But what I mean is, I don't do this thing some people do where they leave, but then they try to come back under socks, or what we used to call AEs for alter ego back in the message board days. Once I'm gone, I'm gone. And I know on Off Topic, I had 50,000 posts on Off Topic. And I was even there in the old the Honda-Acura.net days. I just never made an account because that's how intimidating a message board could be back then. Yeah, it was actually intimidating intellectually for me. But yeah, I certainly would have developed more. I would have had further intellectual development had I stayed on the CBO, which is not what's most likely EBT's Discord. Yeah, it's not undebatable, indubitably, without question. But we had a person on there, indigenous something or other. He changed his name a few times, but I could tell from talking to him on chat, text chat, he was never on The Voice. No, I think he was on The Voice to some extent. He seemed to know enough about astrology. He said that the wheel has been grabbled. If you understand the grabbler emoji. Does anybody know? Do you even grabble though? Grabbler, right? I'm not even going to explain it. If you know, you know. He said the wheel's been grabbled and been rotated 13 degrees, and I'm actually a sun in Cancer, which in some ways makes more sense for Benton, believe it or not, because I am certainly amongst the male Leos. I'm probably one of the most emotional, or one of the most excessively emotional, I would say. I'm almost comically emotional for an actual man, right? Believe me, this is not lost on me, certainly. So I'm willing to accept that probably the actual wheel has been rotated 13 degrees, which in fact would give me entirely different chart and aspect, right? In a way. But then I do embody the Leo as like courage. I've never had an issue. I've always been able to access courage anytime I've needed to for the entire course of since the testosterone kicked in, certainly. But even before that, when my daddy told me, more or less said, well, son, you have to stand up to those bullies, and it's just how it is. So get her done, Padna. And that was way before the testosterone kicked in. So now I'm rambling, but I guess it's okay. 30 in the house. What's up, Pineal? Always good to see Pineal in the house. But I have one of my aspects of my chart. I know how to go to these different sites and get at least the free version of their analysis, but I'm pretty sure I paid the money for Astro Theme. There's a paid version I picked one of the paid services. They all have a paid chart analysis. I think I did Astro Theme. I'm not exactly sure. I actually deleted my old Yahoo email because I disagreed with their new. This is what Benton does. I don't know if y'all know me. I'm a bridge burner. I burn my bridges to big banks. I don't use big banking. I do have a prepaid debit card. It's not Green Dot Bank. It's associated with Green Dot Bank. I actually looked it up at one time. It's whatever. Technically have a checking account, because now let's get into the word wizard side of things. And we know that when word wizard goes off on one of his spells, if we want to call it that, whatever that performance is, it's fingernails on the CBO chalkboard. Kim before the storm. I know that it is, but he's right in a lot. Like what he's saying is it's based in what is truth, man. It's based in truth. It just is. So I was going to go into some sort of description, and I think I've lost it, but it probably doesn't even matter, man. So yeah, and I'm also somewhat annoyed by some of Word Wizard's presentment, but the people who tend to the CBO side of the fence, if that's one is willing to deal in those concepts and have in those terms, they skew more towards placing a significance on what the person is naturally tends to have an aversion to, or just experience be averse or experience aversion. Well, if I'm practicing courage, I'm not basing my actions or my responses fully on what I find aversion in or what I may be averse to, right? It's a factor, certainly. And in my more stressed out times of anxiety, which I'm not really prone to anxiety, but I certainly experience it like probably all of us do. We all have our ways of experiencing it, I'm certain. I doubt few humans experience, unless maybe the actual psychopaths, and thank God I'm not an actual psychopath, Imagine Walter White, an early version of Walt, and I'm not saying I am that. I'm saying an INTJ who actually was a psychopath. I'm not that. So I'm not saying I am that, but it's somewhat comically some physical resemblance, presumably. Some, you know. But I thank God have no disorders, including, you know, whatever they call what's sociopathy, or even an antisocial personality disorder. But I have a smattering of a lot of these things, right? I know that, a smattering, but not enough to trigger a clinical diagnosis. Thankfully, never been diagnosed with anything. Certainly would not have accepted any. I would have rejected out of hand any and all diagnoses had they even been attempted. But I certainly never got to a stage where a doctor or a psychiatrist was like, okay, now I will now diagnose you. No, no Grabler ever. I never got to that point with any Grablers. Rachel's, I can't even read that comment. Time to go. Oh, it's almost food prep time. Oh, but I don't have time to prep all my own meals. Sure you don't. As I'm off to do that. Oh well, Benton doesn't have it. Well, okay, I guess I don't. I'm in the process of making myself a job called content creator. I make content, which is already a true thing. Actually, when people ask me what I'm doing, if I actually just want to give them a factual, informative answer, all I need to do is say I make content for the internet, which is a true statement at this time. I personally would rather just sell the content. Sam Hyde, are you listening? I know I sort of had accidentally fueled up Drew at a certain point to put in an idea in his head to where maybe somebody like Adam Carolla might be willing to take a turn toward the more conspiratorial. Well, what I was saying was that Carolla was starting to at least entertain conspiracies, whereas before he wasn't. What it was is that we didn't yet understand that the normie was in the process of becoming a baby truther, so that Carolla, who's as normie as fuck in many ways, seemingly almost choosing to obstinately or in an obtuse way through practicing obtuseness, if that's probably not a word, but through being willfully obtuse. He is fucking super normie in many ways. He was becoming a baby truther. We didn't recognize that was what was happening. Highly Suspect chimes in and says that fortunately for me, the United States, Marine Corps, and God bless the United States Marine Corps, sir, and federal government. I've never been a Marine. I'm not a Marine, and nor have ever been. And federal government determined me to have a borderline, and I want that to be clearly stated for the record. Determined me to have a borderline, and I would never, ever, ever LARP as such. And at times, people have approached me on foot with my while I wore my Army ACU camo pants or trousers that were not issued to me, that I purchased from a veteran at a military surplus store, and a veteran was happy to supply me with them while he knew and I knew that had never served. Believe me, they can tell. It's y'all who haven't served that can't necessarily tell. Now, they can only tell after we have some conversation in the context of, hey, there's military stuff all around us. But they know I'm not one of them. But the times people have approached me on foot with my ACU camo, I actually like the ACU camo. Call me crazy. Most people hate it. I think it looks pretty fucking cool. I certainly like the USMC. I believe they call theirs Marpat. Is that what they call that? I like that also. I used to wear some Marpat pants until I started having issues. A prophet hath no honor in his home country. I thought I could go play poker at the casino that opened up in my hometown, but sure you can't, Benton. But this is like what a stand-up comedian would say is like, the opener sort of, went a little too hard in the paint and kind of ruined it so I need to sort of bring down the energy for Z's, give Z a chance to sort of work into whatever he's going to be doing I don't know, there's 29 people here. I'm assuming 20 of you, 15 to 20 of you going to find your way to, maybe more, probably all of you at some level going to find your way to, it's like low confidence gesture. Effectively all of you most likely going to at least check out. And I know just based on his opening music, right, it's a certain vibe. Let me bring it down. Gonna have to quit hitting this vape. Actually, there is a drive back to the clubhouse beginning as early as now. Gonna kill the cam and let y'all listen. If you don't mind, if you're so inclined, thanks for being here. Shout out to the chat. Yeah, borderline personality, whatever that is. Oh, yet another collection of behaviors, all within the normal range for a human being, or human beings individually, right? And given a name or referred to by a symbol, also known as a word in the English language. But then again, word is that thing, so word itself, right? But then we get into sound vibration and what is that exactly? The living, if somebody refers to the living word, well, certainly that can never be written scripture, which written scripture necessarily is a dead thing. Truth is living, truth is manifest. I didn't make it so if anybody has a beef with those statements, I would purport or assert that person's beef is not with me, and that I would be the messenger potentially in that regard. Driving skill on display, not that you folks can see it, but you could. I'm driving appropriately for the environs at an appropriate, very, very low speed. The narrow downtown street. Streets, apologies. And even Mr. Unslaved, who attempted to resist and be annoyed by YouTube streets or YouTube streets, either version seems to have eventually been assimilated. But if I know it to be true, and if I understand that truth is manifest, truth is alive, truth can never be a dead thing. So that truth can never be grasped and held and possessed, because what can be grasped and held and possessed and have its flow halted, whatever that is that's left behind, cannot be a living thing. As far as I understand, and maybe I'm not communicating that properly. Oh, we're going to be taking, I don't know if y'all know, but we're taking this little interchange at the speed of my choosing, not y'all's choosing, as a group of cars attempt to get behind me and push me down the road. Like, no, Mr. Benton will select the speed of the vehicle. Thank you very much. And the closer y'all get, the slower I go. So, sorry about your luck. A warning light is on, and that's the low tire warning, which that may actually mean something. On my old car, it was on literally all of the time. Did someone flatten my tires? Did someone make an educated guess that perhaps this is Mr. Benton's, this might be that fellow's car who pulled the gun on us? Or might have just ran over something. One moment while we visually inspect the tires. They have a flat. All right, I'm back. Yeah, that's either a low tire, meaning that the TPMS system works, or it's just chosen this time to stop working and it's just going to be on forever no matter what, which is certainly based on what happened with my last one. It was on when I bought the car and it never ever went off, and it didn't bother me other than it's an orange light on the dash that never turns off. So I'm already used to it to some extent. Defensive display of a firearm on live stream for those of you, although not visually pictured. So I'm pretty sure I never technically violated YouTube's rules. If I did, it would have been literally for like a 1 to 2 frames, I'm assuming. But I'm just going to go ahead with effectively did not do that. But certainly did, in fact, uh, defensively display a weapon. Are you turning? Yeah. Yeah, did in fact defensively display a weapon while conducting the live stream. So told the people I was considering open carrying next time, but actually, and I'm never going back into the darkness. I will go back downtown without a flashlight. Certainly not going to venture. I was in this more or less complete darkness at the time. And see, everybody's paranoid about DUIs because most of these folks are drunk, unless a few early birds actually going to work. It's 4:46, so most of these folks are leaving downtown, and a lot of them are at least above a 0.0. So they're driving some type of way. And my only strategy for getting away from them is to just drive very slow in the right lane. Of course, they don't want to be viewed as going fast, so they don't want to, even though they're not speeding, they don't want to go by me at that gap in speed. They want to pass me at my own speed, which is literally impossible. If we match speeds and the person's behind me, they cannot pass me unless I slow down and they don't. That's the simple mathematics, folks. Physics, dare I say. And I'm grateful to the audience. Thank you all very much. And this is my vlog. I guess now it's an audio blog. Is that what they call those? Blog at least sounds. The other one's a log, audio log. And a log might be a turd. Now is my audio log a turd? Audio blog, I guess. Clumsily. I used to go 40 through here, but I'm not going 40 if I have to be in a group of drunks. I have gotten pulled over at this time of the morning. That was like one of the first things I said to the officer was, yeah, I'm not out all night, man. I've already been to sleep and woke up. I just want you to know that. I understand some of these folks have been up all night. I ain't one of them. It's just for the record. So whatever, I understand you may be thinking, hey, these people are still in a nighttime activities frame of mind. That is not the case for me, sir. I'm already fully caffeinated, wide awake, alert, as alert as I'm going to be all day. It's all downhill from here. I'm as alert and with it as I will be until this time tomorrow. Hopefully, assuming that even happens. Because again, for many, many years, every single time I have created that thought form that I just spoke into the microphone here, I will correct and frame that in my own mind in a certain context of if I am even here tomorrow. That's hypervigilance. That's a practice of a disciplining of the mind to say, obviously I understand and know that in fact I may not actually be here tomorrow, but based on the pattern that has emerged, and I'm playing the odds that yes, in fact, most likely Benton will wake up tomorrow and will be drawing breath this time tomorrow, which is of course an assumption based on what exactly? A pattern a pattern and faith and obliviousness and repression and refusal to accept and certain ideas around the denial of death. And in fact, I wanted to talk more about death, the very concept of death, right before I left to get in my car and drive downtown for the broadcast. That was part of, and I never fully got there, right? Touching on it here at the end. So I got about 20 minutes until Z starts talking, I expect. Depending, sometimes he's a little earlier, sometimes he's a little later. I do enjoy the Benton School of Broadcasting effect of now I'm sort of trying to see if I rein myself in enough, sort of the ones who are going to head over to Z, can I rein them in enough? As I'm on the green, sir. Yeah, I'm on the green, sir. We're gonna come to a full and complete stop before Mr. Benton goes through the intersection. When on your red and my green, sir. I don't know what to tell you. If that involves me going through the intersection at 20, I just guess I'm going through the intersection at 20. Side traffic gonna stop on my green. I don't know what to tell you. Y'all can do whatever you want after that. Side traffic stopping on my green, and they're red. And if you hit me, you hit me, I guess. And you gigantic, comically oversized, bad for literally everybody other than the people inside of it at the time, pickup trucks. Because pickup trucks, as utilized by the American populace, are a fucking menace to public safety. Literally dangerous and a menace to everybody who's not inside of it at the time. That's what a pickup truck now is. A late model pickup truck, full size, is that. And if they had just decided to disregard their red and my green, and in fact chose to smash into the side of my car, because certainly their plan was to pull into my lane because of the wheelbase length of their vehicle. The wheelbase of their vehicle dictates that if they're going to go into the intersection on my green and their red, they will be, the front of their vehicle is going to have to go into my lane. Now, whether or not I'm in their lane or not, what they've decided to do is gauge when they're going to enter my lane on their red, my green, based on my vehicle speed. But now I've intentionally cut it in half and slowed down to 20. And now they had no choice but to stop or hit me. So if they'd just chosen to hit my Mickey Mouse comically small car with their comically nightmarishly large vehicle that's literally a menace to public safety, no hyperbole, it is that, aka a late model full-size pickup truck, full-size SUV. A lot of people drive them. I understand that RT may have loved and fully utilized his Sequoia or whatever full-size Toyota he was driving around, gas guzzler. Still, it doesn't make it any less of a menace to public society in an urban environment, RT. And I'm certain, I'll bet money that RT drove his vehicle into an urban environment at least some of the time. Yeah, he probably retired it to the ranch or the farm or whatever he's on, whatever his property or properties may be. None of my business, actually. None of my business. Let's talk about privacy, but you feel me? And I'm for freedom. Under freedom, y'all get to drive full-size menace to society, menace to public safety vehicles. And if I get to choose to drive what I'm driving, and I might even annoy the fuck out of somebody drive, because he's not used to somebody that drives what I drive. Just saying, well, wait a minute, sir. I got a green and you got a red, so it seems to me like you're going to stop, you're going to put up or shut up, you're going to stop, or you're going to smash me. One of the two. It's he or she stopped, probably a lady, but could be a fella. Could be a fella. Fella certainly needs to be in touch with the masculine and the feminine, I would say, to drive around in this fucking little clown car. Mickey Mouse car. To some extent. But then again, if it comes down to, I've never viewed my vehicle as an extension of my personality or my self-image in any way. So if anybody tries to construe that, I just say, well, if I'm going to identify with something, I'll identify with a Class 8 heavy-duty tractor. So when you guys drive a heavy duty Ford. That's a light truck, sir. That's a Ford heavy duty light pickup truck. That's by classification. Heavy duty would be something like what I used to drive for my job. How about you? Thanks for watching. Bye.